And welcome back into the 90 Plus 2 podcast. Sammy St.Jean, Jeremy Striano, and the good vibes continue on my end as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. The negativity shifts away a little bit as a Man United fan for you. Finally, a little bit of progress. The difficult game at the weekend got the result they needed, and then I would say today was a nice step in the right direction for Manchester United. But it was a great week of football, a lot to talk about. Jeremy, how we feeling about just the general weekend and maybe just in life and as a whole?
Well, apart from NFL, I'm doing all right, because hockey season's back. Man U are slowly but surely getting back to their form that we've expected since the appointment of Eric Ten Hag. But yeah, the good vibes are there. Again, if the New York Jets were not in my life, I'd be at a complete 1000%. But they're still there. They exist and they're bad. So we're at about, like, I would say, like a good 85. We're at a good 85, 90. We're really good. We're feeling all right. We're productive, and yeah, we get to come back here tonight.
Yeah, I feel like we'll take an 80, 85 any day of the week. That's
Absolutely.
pretty solid. I mean, I'm a Colts fan, and who would have thought we're top the AFC South right
Hey,
now? So
big
we're
big win. Matt Gay,
we're
what a legend.
that's what I'm saying. We love kickers.
Wow.
I would say
Yeah.
the word buzzing could not describe me better right now when it comes to being a sports fan. But speaking of that very same, let's jump into the North London derby. Tottenham away to the Emirates, they grab a point. 2-2 draw. Both of our predictions. Actually, let's just acknowledge that off the bat. Our predictions were horrible.
Yeah, they weren't spot on. Some, like, we got some score lines, like, in terms of like how many a team would score, but not the exact score line.
We
Like, it was
both
like,
got two scores, like two actual score numbers right.
yeah,
Like, and then we got one result correct. That was it. We got three things technically right. We need to do much better next weekend.
yeah, we should.
If
Although,
you were
no, I wouldn't have guessed 8-0 for Newcastle Sheffield.
thankfully that wasn't on our list.
No.
Thankfully, because we wouldn't have had a shot at that one. But yes, Tottenham 2-2 away to the Emirates. I'll give my couple points here, and then I'll toss it over to you. See what you got to say. First, Sonny reaches 150 goals for Spurs, which is obviously massive for him. One thing that I was really impressed with, which I didn't hear a ton of the journalists, pundits talking about, was Udoji was very impressive against Saka. We all know our star boy, Arsenal star boy, you know how good he is. And without Martinelli, there was a lot put on Saka. They were playing a little more, I think, to that side and trying to take advantage of that quality that Saka has. And despite an early card, Udoji held up very, very well. And I was very impressed by what he did there. Obviously, in the second half, we saw Rice come off, make way for Jorginho, who I would say Jorginho as a whole played fairly well as a substitute, but he did make that very critical mistake that led to the second equalizer for Tottenham. And then the final note I have, at least on Arsenal, was Havertz has now appeared in 7 games for Arsenal with 0 goal contributions. Yikes, not good. And I coincidentally also was on TikTok today and I saw someone ask, would you trade Havertz for Madison? And he said no. And I just laughed constantly for like 10 minutes in a row. That one put me in a good humor, Jeremy. It did. And then Ainge is now the first Spurs manager to avoid an away defeat to Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, which is pretty important. No, that's pretty big
Yeah,
thing to do.
you've had a few since Arteta's taken over.
I mean, we struggled away to Arsenal too. So in particular, so very impressive from Ainge. And then the last thing I actually want to say was a quote from Mickey Van de Ven about Ainge Postecoglou. This is something he said about the boss. He said, he is more like a dad or something. We are like brothers together. We have to do this for each other. You see this on the pitch. We run for each other. We fight for each other, and we do everything for each other. He, Ainge, is building that. I don't think I've ever been happier with a manager in my time as a Tottenham Hotspur fan. And like that kind of review out of a player that is, I don't know, a couple months into his time at Tottenham, and also Mickey Van de Ven playing very, very well at center back. His pace for his size is outrageous. But for him to say that and also to see what he's saying on the pitch, again, I'm buzzing a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, buzzing a little bit. How'd you feel about the match, Jerry?
I want to just go out on a limb and just, there was one word that I thought of when I saw this Tottenham performance, and it's just resilience. The resilience of the club, So two things happen. Number one, own goal from Christian Romero. It's really unlucky. And you hate to see a player that's just been such a integral part of Tottenham's lineup kind of concede like that. Like usually you would see like Harry Maguire or someone like that give up an own goal. But when it's Christian Romero, it kind of is like a like even it could happen to anybody. You know what I mean?
It was a
But
tough one too.
it was just an unlucky play, right?
Yeah.
But it still goes down as Romero OG, and it doesn't mean original
It
gangster.
took a little while, like during the broadcast, for them to confirm it because they had to like look to see
Yeah,
whether it was on target and stuff
if it
like
was
that.
a
But yeah,
shot or not, yeah.
yeah.
But then you respond with Heung-Min Son, right? Then 1-1, everyone's like, okay, this is a pretty like even Steven game. Saka comes on, scores a goal, or Saka scores in the 54th, and it makes it 2-1.
Penalty, Romero handball. Just another note. Romero just had a very unlucky game.
Not even a minute goes by, and just right off the kickoff, Sonny again, 2-2. Now I'm thinking like, holy crap, this is gonna be this is it. Well, my prediction was still intact. I believe I had 3-2 Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, oh, I might get a prediction right, or Tottenham are going to come back and or just going to score another goal and win this game. But it ends 2-2. It'll go down like without the handball. See, like because handballs and own goals, yeah, they're kind of like a damper to the mood of a game, and it's like an unnatural play. I think without the own goal, without a handball penalty, because so many calls go to VAR's way nowadays. That's just the nature of the game right now.
Yeah.
I think without those like two miscues, and they're just unfortunate miscues, I think this could be one of the games of the season. I really do. I think it'll go down in probably like top 5 games so far. I definitely think it'll be one of the top games, maybe the top 1 or top 2 games of the half season. So right when we get to Christmas, I think you'll look back at this North London derby and say, wow, that was just a really good football match. Both teams showed up, both teams wanted to win, and they split. And you make a great point about Ange Postecoglou. I've been preaching to you since he was appointed. I know you were uncertain. You were like, well, he's coming from the Scottish Premier League. Even you were like, I really don't know much about like the Scottish Prem and whatever. And I just said to you one thing: he's a winner. And yeah, I do think he's going to be the guy that breaks that streak for you. No matter if it's the FA Cup or if it's European Conference League, Europa League, Champions League next year, whatever competition you qualify for. Right now, you're playing like a Champions League team. I'll tell you that. Um, you needed just a change of scenery, and not just with managers, because managers have come and gone. I don't want to say that letting go of Harry Kane was the best thing. I don't think it was, but maybe when you look at it, it's just kind of like, oh wow, like we're still playing good without Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Like we have James Madison. Sonny's the captain now. We
He's
have
playing striker now.
Yeah, he's playing number 9. And you have Vicario, who I tried to pronounce his first name today because I was writing a little like write up. Is it Gigliemo? What is it? Do
Dude,
people just call him Gigi? Is it just Gigi Vicario?
I just call him Vicario because
Yeah.
I just have a massive fear of butchering first names. So, and since it's usually not required, I just Vicario. But
But
we'll get on. We'll get on that. I
yeah,
probably should know how to
just
pronounce my goalkeepers.
no, it's okay. But just to wrap up my point, I thought this was just a well put together match, 2-2. Again, both teams wanted to win. That's what happens when you play a derby, right? Like both teams just want all 3 points. I feel like a team, and it's almost crazy to say, but I feel like a team would rather like fight and lose and like tie, even though like when you look back, like 1 point can decide whether you make Champions League, Europa League, or even fall out of European competition. So I was really impressed with your team, Sammy, but again, I was also impressed with Arsenal's play. I think Arsenal they're gonna contend once again. I think it's right now it's Arsenal, it's Liverpool, it's Brighton, like like Brighton's scary. I really want De Zerbi to kind of make some noise here, kind of rattle the cages of everybody, but I mean Pep and the boys are just dominant.
Yeah.
But no, great game, great game. You should be proud.
No, I'd say the one thing missing from that match was Martinelli on the left for Arsenal, which obviously does hinder a little bit what they tried to do because then you have to. Wasn't sure whether they're going to put Jesus or Nketiah out there, but regardless, that left wing isn't either of their natural positions. I think it ended up being Nketiah playing more on the left than Jesus. Jesus one is very good with a press. I didn't really register for me until that game because you really saw like what kind of boost he provided to the Arsenal press, especially in that first half. But one thing, actually, I have two more final notes. One, I jokingly hate Saka for his like mimicking of other people's celebrations.
Oh, that was petty.
Oh, when he did it to Madison, I was
Uh,
just, dude, I was fired up. When he did that, I was, yeah, especially because Madison made a joke too. He's like, I think he was still doing the celebration when I turned around him on that second goal. Uh, but the other thing too is I thought Spurs, although Arsenal, I would say again, I think draw was the proper result here. I think it made the most sense. I thought Spurs were tougher in this match than Arsenal. They showed a lot more fight, especially in that second half, because that Arsenal press started to fade away. Whereas I thought Tottenham were able to keep what they were doing going longer. They were more consistent with that fight, with that press, and I think they went for the game in that second half a little more than Arsenal. That might just be my Tottenham eyes looking at finally seeing a team press and actually go for a game. But that's what I saw.
I
So
like that. I
I
like that. I like that Tottenhamized. It's just
yeah.
nice. I like that a
I
lot.
mean, it is it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm aware that I have some
If
personal
you do if you
bias.
do a Tottenham podcast, oh like a Tottenham only podcast, that should be the title of your show.
Oh, you definitely could
Tottenhamized.
be. Not a bad show. Not a bad show. But all right, I'll stop rambling on about my club. I'll do that again another episode. Actually, I'll have to probably do it next week when we talk about Liverpool and Tottenham squaring off another big match to look forward to at the weekend. But these are the other results that kind of happened, Jeremy. I'll kind of rattle them off, let you pick up what you like. Um, Another result that I got more wrong than you did was Villa 1-0 over Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Do you want to note Chelsea still remain undefeated on XG this season, despite only having 5 points in the league. I think Jackson has over 4 XG without a single goal.
That's wild because he had a
Yeah,
really awesome preseason too.
no. Liverpool take care of West Ham. They stay very, very hot. They set themselves in a second. I'll talk about that critical match with Tottenham coming up. Newcastle were angry for some reason and decided to win 8-0 and score with 8 different goal scorers.
Eight
That
different
was,
goal scorers. That's
yeah,
whack. That's
yeah.
whack.
They just it was kind of them in Miami, the Miami Dolphins. I don't know what was going
Yeah.
on,
Oh
but
my
they had a
god.
point to prove. They had a point
Yeah.
to prove it. They had a point to prove this week. But and then big ups to Luton Town. Although it wasn't a win, they did grab their first Premier League point. So little round of
Well
applause
done to the
there
Hatters. Love that.
for Luton Town. City 2-0 to Forest. This one is bad for City, almost a loss because Rodri gets a red card, 3-game ban, no Rodri or KDB for a match coming up against Arsenal, which obviously very costly.
Mm.
And then finally, United weren't pretty, but Onana gets his clean sheet in a 1-0 win to Burnley. We'll get a little more to the match that happened today, but just saying they looked better today than they did at the weekend. Both
Mm.
results, I would say they needed.
110%. Turf Moor is not an easy place to play, even though Burnley are newly promoted. Turf Moor was a venue that always rattled me as a United fan because it's like, oh, well, it's Burnley. No, just for just some reason, Turf Moor was just always like this hollowed ground that just like, I feel like there was always like ghosts, taking over, and United would just always like fall short, tie, occasionally lose. They would still win at Burnley, but it was just always tough. Like it was never an easy place to play. And the weekend proved that. I want to commend somebody that I have kind of been ragging on the entire season so far. I want to shout out Johnny Evans, who I thought came in and played an exceptional game against Burnley. He had a goal taken away due to offsides VAR, but then responded with an assist that I can only think of a few people on that United team that make that pass. Maybe Casemiro, maybe, oh man, I don't even know if any of the center backs make that pass, like any other center. Maybe Licha, maybe Martinez. Um, he lays on a ball into the box to Bruno Fernandez, who just takes it down one time and oh man, buries a goal that I was like, wow, that's United football. Like that is awesome. And I'm thinking like, oh yeah, who makes that assist? You know, that's like a Bruno. Like we want to see Bruno do that with Rasmus Højlund. But no, that's Johnny Evans doing that to Bruno Fernandez. And man, I was so impressed with Johnny Evans. He wears a number 35. I think that's how old he is. I think he's somewhere around like his mid 30s. Um, but no, he's a club legend for sure. He's won league titles with us, and it's really cool to kind of see someone from like my early youth still like come back and play for Man United in a much more youthful team. You know, with players like Rashford and Garnacho and Pellistri and Højlund. Um, that game we saw like a minute of Sofian Amrabat. But we'll get into today's game because he actually did play a lot more today. Actually started today and actually did well. But
Not in the midfield.
no,
It
not in
was
the midfield. Spoiler.
impressive. I would argue impressive, but
Yeah, because he's so versatile. Like you can put him in different positions. You can put him at an 8. You can put him at a 6. He could probably even play center back too. Like if we have another one of those plagues that we had earlier this year, which is every other center back and left back going down. Because I know Reguilon didn't play today. I don't even think he even dressed today because I think he got a knock in training or something like that. Um, so they'll probably be resting him for the Crystal Palace game in the Premier League coming up this weekend.
well, he also went from not playing at all at Spurs to really
And
ramping
now
up that
playing
play
almost
time.
every
So it's
day at
probably
United.
a
Yeah.
little bit of that too.
A little fatigue, I would say, but now that everyone's going to be training, and then we have Champions League coming up, the following week, so everyone's going to get a lot of game time. And that's what I think too with United is a lot of these kids are going to get their chance, and especially when Kobe Manu gets back from injury, he's been posting on his Instagram that he's coming back, like he's slowly but surely getting time. He's going to be that number 6 that's going to learn under Casemiro, that's going to learn under Amrabat, that's just going to come in and just dominate. Like I think he's going to be one of the best, academy players that we've seen. All in all, very happy we got the win. We're back up in the top 10. Thank God. And if they win against Crystal Palace again, spoiler, then yeah, then we'll flirt with the top 6 and just hopefully not have to play Brighton again for a very very long time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is now we're starting to, I think at this point in the season, you can actually look at the standings and take at least a little bit away from it. I know, no, still 6 matches in. It's
Oh, it's early,
grain,
but you get
grain of
that
salt.
sense. You
But
get
I
that
think
sense of
once you
who's
get
going to end
past
up where.
that 5-6 mark, you can start at least saying, okay, they're in 5th, 4th right now. You can say they're in 9th right now.
Yeah,
There is a little more value into where they are in the table as kind of sort of grading them on how their season's gone.
yeah, like with this weekend, I would say, oh, it's 2 versus 4.
Yes,
Liverpool, Tottenham, top
yes,
two
100%,
top 4
100%.
teams,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. But obviously, like I was mentioning it a little earlier in the season in our first few episodes since coming back. And I think this is the first episode we're recording where when we're talking about someone's place, I think it has a little bit of weight. Is just kind of the point I wanted to make. So yeah, I just want to kind of quickly for our viewers rattle off the top 10 just very quickly. So we got City, Liverpool, Brighton, Spurs in those top 4 spots. Arsenal 5th, Villa, West Ham, Newcastle rounding out the top 8, and then Man United and Crystal Palace. So that 9-8, 9-10 battle coming up over the weekend. All right, so let's head to Spain. And actually, wait, hang on. I want to do one more Man United thing real quick before we go to Spain. And it's something that happened today. Another comment from Eric Ten Hag on Jadon Sancho. He says, I'm not going to comment on players that aren't with the club or that aren't active. Is he going to? I just want your opinion on this. You can say as much or as little as you want on this. Do you think Jadon Sancho will ever wear a Man United kit on the pitch again?
No, I think with everything coming out right now, so I follow a lot of like United pages on Twitter, the United Stand, Stretford Paddock, a lot of those fan channels that really collaborate with journalists and they're journalists themselves too. Like they're trying to find that scoop. There's a lot coming out right now with what like Jadon Sancho was like at Dortmund, like his mentality, his lifestyle, and people were saying that Jadon Sancho would. I think Jadon Sancho's like a big gamer. I don't know if he's like a Twitch streamer or not, but
Well, he was
apparently
playing. Yeah, he was playing during the Bayern match.
he was like a big video game player, and like he would play video games until like 3, 4, 5 in the morning and would go to bed and would be late to training almost all the time. And they kind of let that go under the rug a little bit because he was a real impactful player. I think now with Ten Hag, and again, I'm bringing up this ruthless aggression from Ten Hag. I don't think he's going to tolerate that. I really don't. I think cut him loose while he can, and you don't want to ruin something good happening right now. Like we finally have some kind of you know positive, some positive vibes going in the room right now. Casemiro's playing great. Like I consider the Bayern result kind of a W because like it took balls for them to like come back and like kind of just fall 4-3. Like scoring 3 goals at the at Allianz Arena is a very hard thing to do for some teams. And yeah, we still lost, but like that goes to prove to like Galatasaray and Copenhagen that we're not going to mess around. And I think we're gonna beat them. I think we're going to split with Galatasaray, beat Copenhagen twice, and maybe draw, maybe lose again to Bayern and sneak out in second place and go to the Champions League and go to the knockout rounds. But I don't see where Jadon Sancho fits in. I really think Fasundo Pilistri has fallen into the right place at the right time. With everything going on with Anthony, that's a completely different situation. I think there's a lot of wrongdoing there, like just people trying to get him, for doing something that he didn't do. So once his name gets cleared, he comes back and I think Ten Hag wouldn't have brought in Anthony like if he like because he loves his players, and I think he knows deep down, like the person that Anthony really is. But in terms of Sancho, I don't see a future with him anymore. And there were rumors about him going back to Dortmund, and I don't think Dortmund want him either because of like what was going on, like the past. Like past is the past. It's really hard for a person to like leave a team and go back to that same team. So uh again, long-winded answer, but short answer, no. I think he's gone.
I don't know if this is confirmed too, but allegedly he was playing FIFA during the Man United Bayern match. Like someone took like a screenshot or screen grab of them playing against Jadon Sancho. I don't know if people know for a fact that that's his account or not, but
Yeah.
that was something that was going
Yeah, I
around
mean
social
we
media with
can't
a decent
confirm
bit of
that.
buzz. So we
Uh
can't confirm, but some people might know whether that's true or not. But that was something that was floating around, and it does kind of coincide with what you were referring to there. All right, let's finally go to Spain. I had to get that question in there with what came up today. So these are the results that came up in La Liga in Girona. What is going on with Girona, man? They win 5-3. Now they're in second in La Liga.
I told you it was like 2 episodes ago. I'm just like, keep an eye on Girona. Like,
It's
what
like,
the
what?
heck?
Dude,
They're
they've only allowed
they haven't
seven.
lost yet.
Do they have a 9 goal differential? Like they're 5-1-0. Like they're playing very good football. Barca, where they win a tight match against Celta Vigo. Atletico Madrid, surprise 3-1 result over Real Madrid. Neither of us gave them a shot really in this match, especially after their recent like 3-0 loss to Valencia in a midweek kind of, I don't want to say loss, but it was a draw that really hurt because you let a goalkeeper score at the death. So like weird form, kind of disappointing feeling around Atletico, and then they turn around and win the derby against Real, and that was surprising. I do want to know, yeah, yes, right here.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to know. Big credit to Jude Bellingham. There was a captured on film. It was seen he was deliberately avoiding stepping on the Atletico Madrid badge on the field, despite the result that happened. He was deliberately like walking around it to not disrespect the badge. So that was something I saw that obviously you want to give credit to a player for just that kind of respect, especially at such a
Oh,
young age
absolutely.
in a big match against a rival, still kind of doing that's something you really do like to see because
Mhm.
in between the white lines you're not friends, but outside you do want to have that kind of respect, and I
Yeah.
really like to see that. My last note about La Liga before I kind of hand it over to you, hear what you have to say is Isco. Yeah, you heard that right. Isco, 5 out of 6 man of the matches for Betis this year in La Liga. So just a little round of applause there. I'm not expecting a ton out of Betis this year. I mean, they're 10th in the table, but he's been really impressive for them despite, his age and everything, and very impressive.
No, I think the big storyline obviously is Atleti, the Madrid derby, winning at home at the Metropolitano. We both had, I believe we both had Madrid wins, right? So look, it just proves to you that on any given day, someone can win. And they had a big win last Sunday against, their crosstown rival. Betis, on the other hand, again, they're in 10th. They're always a team that can just flirt with like top 5, top 4. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if they like made a run later on in the latter half of the year. But a big game to keep an eye out for tomorrow, Villarreal Girona, because on the weekend, and we'll get to this later on in our second episode of the week, we have Real Madrid against Girona on Saturday, which is going to be must watch if you have ESPN Plus that owns La Liga rights.
At the start of the season, who thought we would be saying that? Just throw that out there.
But yeah, that's all I got for our fellas in Spain.
Yeah, in terms of the rest of the midweek, not a ton of the matches I would say are overly enticing. I'm just kind of curious, do Real Madrid bounce back tomorrow and are Atletico finding their form again? They both have matches, I would say, in favorable fixtures. So let's go over to Germany now and talk about a Tottenham legend who decided to have 5 goal contributions in one game. Bayern, 7-0 win, led by Mr. Harry Kane himself. A hat trick and 2 assists puts them back up top on the table. Leverkusen do keep up, however, are only 1 goal behind them after their 4-1 win. Rumors going around Xabi Alonso is linked to be Real Madrid's next manager to replace Ancelotti, which would be interesting. Ancelotti kind of commented on it, on Alonso and a few other Real Madrid kind of potential candidates in the future, all the people he would love to see managing Real Madrid in the future. And then Union Berlin continue to struggle a little bit in the league. 2-0 loss to Hoffenheim and dropped to 10th in the league. Have a sneaking suspicion you might want to comment on Union first, but I'll hand it over to you on those 3 matches. See what you got to say.
Yeah, it's really tough for the boys in Berlin. I think they're really making me think that last year was this big like Cinderella story. But there's a lot of season left, and I think they're fine. With Bayern, on the other hand, I make this case every year and say that I think they're the best team in the world. Like I always say that, even though like that Man City still exists. It's gonna be close. I'm dying for a Man City Bayern Munich final. But then again, when I say that, like there's still a Barcelona in the world. There's still a Real Madrid in the world. Harry Kane is slowly like he's just gelling. He's just gelling into this system. And I know like you're happy for him. And I know that you're kind of like, damn, like I still wish he was doing this for us.
Oh no,
But
I'm gonna be buying a Harry Kane Oktoberfest jersey like
yeah,
very soon. It's gonna be happening
those are
very,
so
very
clean.
soon.
Those are so clean. But what can you not love about him right now? Like he might be one of the best players in the world, and just in terms of production per game. Again, because there's so many players that you've mentioned throughout this duration of the podcast. Someone like, I'm not saying he's the best in the world, but someone like a Kai Havertz, who was when he was at Leverkusen was just really, really dominant at a very, very young age, and makes a move to Chelsea. And even then, we were kind of like, okay, like where is it? Then he goes to Arsenal, who finished in second last year, and hasn't even gotten 1 goal. Like
1 goal contribution.
one contribution. Like Højlund has scored a goal already. Højlund scored against Bayern Munich.
And they were roughly the same fee, if I'm not mistaken. Roughly in the same ballpark.
About like 70, 80.
I know they were different levels of proven. I would say arguably Havertz was more proven.
Yeah. Like because Højlund's younger by a couple years, but Højlund showed that he could score on a big stage like the Allianz Arena. Now let's see what he does, at I believe the game's at Selhurst Park. on Saturday? I think we're away because we were home today. I think we might be at Old Trafford. I'm not sure, but I want to say like I want to see Hoyland continue to perform, but Harry Kane to me is who's stopping him? I think he's going to win the Golden Boot of Bundesliga. I don't think that's going to be close, in my opinion. I think
Unless
he's
someone
going to
else on Bayern beats him.
right. Like I don't know, maybe like Sane. No,
Sane, maybe Nabry.
Nabry.
It really just depends on how much they
Yeah,
prioritize the league as opposed to Champions League or other competitions. You
like
never know.
I would only think like Nkunku, but not really.
No,
Like
he's at Chelsea. He's at Chelsea now.
oh yeah, true. He is at Chelsea. I keep
Well, he's
thinking he's at
hurt, but he's at
Leipzig.
Chelsea
Yeah,
now.
but I'm trying to think
Speaking
like
of Bayern and Leipzig do play next weekend, just as a kind of precursor. Watch out for that
like
match.
Openda, but I don't know like how Openda's done like in his first couple games at Leipzig, but I think Harry Kane takes this competition by storm.
Well, currently Harry Kane's in second. Seru, and I apologize if I butcher this name, Girassi, from Stuttgart with 10 goals already, is currently in first. Harry Kane has 7. Boniface,
Harry Kane will win it by the end of the year.
Boniface has 6 for Leverkusen, and then it kind of falls off a little bit with Leroy Sané at 4, back down into 5th, kind of a deadlock there. That's their Bundesliga Golden Boot update. All right, so quickly we'll go to Spain before a brief dip into France and the Netherlands.
Oh, we just went to Spain.
Or sorry, Italy. I was looking at the S of Serie A, and I was just like Spain. So Milan, a lot of close matches that you wouldn't necessarily expect actually here. Milan sneak a 1-0 win over Verona, and I'm concerned about their goal scoring because Rafael Leao is their only real threat in the recent going. He has 2 goals. There are only 2 goals in the last 3 matches, and 3 of their last 4 goals have been him, which spans 4 matches, with Giroud being the other one to score. So I'm kind of worried about Milan, where that other potential goal scoring is, because when you're playing against the best of the best teams, although Leao will still find a way to be involved, it's much harder to kind of rely on one player when you're playing against the best of the best, who would do better to minimize his contributions and could kind of lock him out of the game if you're really only going to use one player as a crutch. Juventus were upset by Sassuolo, barely grabbed a midweek 1-0 win today against Lecce. So Juventus, despite that, still hang on to second place in the table. Lazio surprise draw to Monza 1-1. Inter pushed by Empoli a little bit, 1-0 win there for Inter. Napoli dropped more points, 0-0 draw against Bologna. Roma, another draw, 1-1 to Torino. And listen to these places in the Serie A table. Lecce are in 4th. Napoli are in 7th. Roma are in 13th. And Lazio are in 15th. So we did talk about how the Premier League is the most competitive league, but we're now seeing from both now Italy and Spain a little more, disparity, a little more competition, which is something we always like to see. And I think that's allowed both these leagues to carve out a little more time in our show.
Yeah, I think we're slowly seeing Serie A kind of really gel into that number 2 spot in terms of competitive leagues in Europe. Again, I've always said that I'm a Bundesliga guy through and through, but every time I watch the Bundesliga now, the Bundesliga and Ligue 1 kind of remind me like I'm watching like a better version of the MLS. And I don't mean that in any way, shape, or form, but there are a lot of goals, not a lot of defense, and just really like sloppy play in the middle of the field. Like that, I expect in MLS because again, a lot of them are younger kids. They're either younger kids or older players, right? Serie A, on the other hand, like I feel like anything can happen in that league. We're seeing it with Milan. We're seeing it with, with Inter. Inter just continue to dominate, and they're 5 from 5 right now, and they're just on great form. I still think that someone's gonna change that. Even though I thought it was Milan until they absolutely slaughtered them a couple weeks ago. But I want to break a little bit of news right now. Not like a little bit of a rumor. I don't know if you've heard the rumor, but I
Is it a
have.
Fabrizio tweet from a little earlier today?
Was it involving AC Milan?
Yes. Wait, no. I believe it was involving Napoli.
No,
But
I
go ahead
have.
with yours. Go ahead with yours.
So I feel like this is more relevant because of where we live and where we're
Yeah.
from. Giovanni Reina linked to AC Milan for the January transfer window, which is also interesting because Milan, of course, brought in Pulisic, and they've also brought in Yunus Musa to their window this past summer. So you're saying, like, where does the scoring come from? Well, maybe it adds in January, and they're really serious about Giovanni Reina. He probably won't start. I don't think he'll start a lot, but maybe he comes in and finds a way to just gel with his United States national team teammates. And I think Giroud is a fun player to play with in terms of wingers to striker. And I think he's just really can just work with anybody.
Okay, so final note on Serie A is that tweet from Fabrizio that I alluded to. Breaking news. Victor Osimhen could take legal action against Napoli per his agent, Berto Canenda, in a formal statement. What happened today on Napoli's official profile on TikTok platform is not acceptable. A video mocking Victor was first made public and then, but now, belatedly deleted. A serious fact that causes very serious damage to the player and adds to the treatment that the boy is suffering in the last period. Between media trials and fake news, we reserve the right to take legal action and any useful initiative to protect Victor. That is not the player, Napoli, you want to be causing issues with. Like, I don't like. I saw the video. Like, why? It wasn't like there's just no reason that should be posted from your own social media account. I just don't understand. It was like a 13-second video kind of mocking him about the penalty. And I don't know, man. It's just like he's just like, give me the penalty. He's like, give me the penalty, and then he misses it. Yeah, okay. That happens. People miss penalties.
Yeah.
Not understanding why your own account is doing that and that about your own player. That is questionable, and I sort of hope that Osimhen does take legal action because there's no reason your own team social media account should ever do that about your own player.
I
Uh,
hope he leaves. You know, I hope he realizes there's a great opportunity for him over in England. No, I'm not just saying Man U, but I'm just saying, like, I hope maybe this is like you know the nail in the coffin to kind of just solidify his move from Napoli, especially with their current form right now. Like, if they keep this up, I wouldn't be surprised if he's asking for a transfer come January.
I mean, Kvaratskhelia could have his way out too if this keeps falling apart. Because also you don't want to see their value depreciate if you're Napoli, although you're creating a situation on yourself. You're two very expensive players right now. You don't want to lose their value. But yeah, this is not looking too good for Napoli after, you know, just not a hot start to the 2023-2024 campaign. All right, let's quickly do Ligue 1 and the Eredivisie, and then we will kind of round out our little midweek conversation very quickly in Ligue 1. PSG leave no doubt in that match against Marseille. Not going to get another AFTV callback from Jeremy about good friend Aubameyang. Uh, 8th minute goal from Hakimi, Kolomouani in the 37th, and then Gonzalo Ramos, 2 goals in the 47th and 89th. And it was overall just kind of a thrashing, really no contest. Marseille didn't even have a shot on goal, 77% possession for PSG. And this is why we don't talk about League One very often. It's because this is supposed to be a cracking match and it didn't turn into anything. And although PSG have surprisingly been in some tight contests this season, this is more what you expect PSG to do in the league matches, and why I personally pick them to win the group of death in the Champions League. So I want to give PSG credit for now climbing their way back into third and for strong performance, finding some form after a strong win against Borussia Dortmund. But yeah, this is what you expect from PSG.
I'm always gonna say that Colomouani and Gonzalo Ramos were the two that got away from Man U when we were looking at this short list of strikers. My number one target was Osimhen. I thought the one that was unrealistic was Harry Kane. I was like, I don't think he's going to do that, even though I wanted him to, and a lot of United fans wanted to. When I was looking at like more of a long term picture, I was like, there's two that really stand out to me. One plays in Germany, the other plays in Portugal, and it was Gonzalo Ramos, who played for Benfica, and then Colomwani, who played for Frankfurt. And sure enough, they both end up on the same team, the same juggernaut of a team known as Paris Saint-Germain, who will always be competitive in Champions League play. Will probably win that really dreaded Group F. I think they'll have no problem in winning that just because of how deep they are.
I would
Having one of
argue
the best,
not no problem, but they should
they
win
should
that
win.
group. Yeah.
I still think they're.
It's too
I
hard
still
of a
think
group to say no problem. I feel like it's just there's too much quality in that group to say no problem.
I still think they do. I think with Dortmund on their form right now, with Milan, I want to say a phrase, but I can't say it because I'll hold back. But with Milan not showing up against Inter, Newcastle's a really big question mark in that group. It's just like they can be good. They they sometimes show up. I mean, yeah, they put 8 goals behind Sheffield the other day. So
Yeah.
maybe that anger transfers over to their Champions League play. Who knows? But yeah, it'll be tough. But I still think that PSG should come out on top. In terms of the league, oh my God, the league is a cakewalk compared to the
It should
Champions League.
be. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. All right, let's move over quickly to Eredivisie, and we were really excited for this Ajax Feyenoord match, and we got 55 minutes of it, and it was called. Ajax fans not too happy to be down 3-0, start throwing flares on the field, and they abandon the match. What are we doing? What are we doing over in the Netherlands, man? We just started talking about the Dutch league. Why are we putting that in? I just don't understand. Like I get being passionate. I get being upset that your club is struggling and not in a great spot. But Feyenoord are a good side. Like, and it wasn't even like they were overall playing that bad. Like they had 65% possession. They didn't necessarily have the shots or shots on goals they quite wanted, but they were in this contest more than the 3-0 scoreline would have dictated. And I know their spot in the table is questionable, but man, that's just never okay. And no matter, regardless of the league, like, I don't know, that was just a tough end to what could have been a fun, another 35 minutes plus of football to watch in that match.
this has been an ongoing problem, in some of these countries over Europe, South America are just two. Like I look at like really passionate countries like the Netherlands. I think like even in North America, like Mexico, I think this is more of an issue. Um, Argentina's always had really passionate, when you watch the what's it called? It's not El Clasico because that's Real Madrid Barcelona, but their match. I think it's the super. Is it the Super Clasico with Boca Juniors and River Plate? Oh my God! Like they had to stop games like so many times in that rivalry. Like it's ridiculous. Like people have died, in the streets years and years ago because of this rivalry. It's hard. It's hard to take passion out of the sport, but when you're like affecting the actual game, it kind of is like, okay, what are we doing here? Like it's at the end of the day, it's still a game. I know this is a way of life for many people, but it is a game. It's a game
Yeah.
between two teams that one's gonna win, one lose, or they might tie. That's the beauty of it. They might tie.
Yeah.
So I think when we were talking about kind of like when we were talking about all the racist chants going on with like Lukaku back in the day when we had a couple podcasts talking about racism with the Red Bulls had a case with San Jose and everything with Romelu Lukaku with like pyrotechnics and everything. Yeah, like it sucks to see your team go down 3-0, but to like ruin the game for everybody. Now there are, believe it or not, there are some fans there that show up with kids and just go for like a day out. Not everybody's an ultra. Not everybody's a committed supporter. There are casual fans there. And Johan Cruyff Arena, was it at Ajax the game?
Uh, I believe so. Yes.
Okay, so Johan Cruyff Arena is a really big like attraction over in the Netherlands. It's one of their bigger stadiums. And, God willing, like you have people you know, coming over to Amsterdam for vacation and say they're like, "Oh wow, like we got tickets to Ajax Feyenoord." And you have to ruin it for people like that. Like that's when I'm like, "Okay, like what are we doing here? You're not kids anymore." You're not kids. You're not like,
Also,
we're not
like,
getting what we want. So I'm going to throw a flare on your field.
well,
But
they took points away from Feyenoord for now. Like that just goes as a no contest. So they were down 3-0, and now they just scrap it.
yeah, just be lucky that I didn't even know that they didn't give it a
I
result.
I don't know. They might resume pick up where it was. I don't know what
Yeah,
the decision is,
I don't know what
but
the league's.
they're technically a game in hand now, and Ajax has only played 4 matches. But I'm at Ajax now 14th in the table out of 18.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't want childish stuff in our game. This is they call it the beautiful game for a reason, not the childish game. You know what I mean? So
You're beyond childish when you're throwing flares.
yeah, like it's just I love the passion, the chance. I love that. But again, when you're affecting the actual play, like you're
Mhm.
not on the team, you're behind the team, you're the 12th man, but you're not on the team. You're not being paid by the club. You're not suiting up every day.
The
And
privilege to be at a game.
it is. It absolutely is. You
As someone who has not been able to attend a European football match, it is a privilege. I would
yeah.
love to be able to do that.
Mm,
Some people take it for granted far more than they should.
absolutely. Ready to move on?
Yes, we can finish off on a much brighter note. We'll talk about these midweek matches that are coming up. Some of them in terms of results that happened today quickly. Some top flight teams already knocked out. We know what Tottenham, the one blemish kind of on Ange Postecoglou's record, was not really going out against Fulham and getting a
Yeah.
result. So Ipswich Town knocking out Wolves 2-0, or sorry, 3-2 after being down 2-0 after just 15 minutes. So a really impressive result for them. Luton Town get bested by Exeter City 1-0. So their Carabao Cup run is done. Burnley continue a pretty impressive form, I'd say. 4-0 win over Salford City. Obviously not the cream of the crop competition, but I think a sneaky good team is developing in Burnley, something you kind of hinted at a little earlier in the show. And then again, United were much, much better today versus Palace. 3-0 win. Armabat debut, played left back and played fairly well. Casemiro scores again, and two players that you would like to see contribute in the goal scoring for Man United, Garnacho and Martial score. So hopefully for them, that could be a little bit of a springboard. And you're not going to see them necessarily hit double-digit goals this season, but if you could see 5 or 6 out of them throughout the course of the year, that's a pretty good, contribution. Maybe even slightly more than that if they really kind of hit the ground running. So I assume we're starting with United here, but handing this over to you for these 4 contests that we brought up.
Yeah. I really just want to focus on because I'm going to talk about United for a little bit. I'll
Mm-hmm.
go off on a tangent if that's okay. Not to say that these other results weren't important. I mean, Luton Town losing to Exeter, like that's a pretty eye opener. And a lot of these competitions are luck of the draw. So now Exeter will probably they're one of those teams that can if they can like draw against teams that are equal to them on terms of quality or maybe a little less than because there's still teams like Mansfield, Port Vale. I think Ipswich are one of the better championship sides. Stoke City. Um, Stoke City used to be a big Premier League team, and now they're really not. They're just solidified as championship caliber. Um, Burnley 4-0. I mean, yeah, you hinted at it. I think Burnley are just a tough place, and with all these investors, I really see a bright future ahead with Burnley and Vincent Company. United today played an absolute great game, and they played against a Premier League side. Can we please, can United not give me so much anxiety with draws? Like we've already drawn Bayern Munich this
Dude, the
year.
round before this,
Oh
Tottenham
my
drew a
God.
Premier League team, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
that's wild for you. Like that's just like, but
That
again,
sucks.
but like Chelsea, Brighton, and Liverpool, Leicester, and Man City, Newcastle. Like, what are we doing? These are not,
Mhm.
and even okay, Man U, Crystal Palace, but like that's not a third round game. That's like a round of 16, quarterfinal maybe. Like
Yeah.
everyone forgets the last time Man U won the FA Cup. Who did Man U play in the FA Cup? Crystal Palace. That was the Jesse Lingard extra time goal. Anyway, so the draw will probably come out tomorrow, and I just hope to the gods above, or to my one true God, I should say, that like we get someone like a Port Vale, like a Exeter. It'd be funny if we get Burnley again. I actually think we might get Burnley again. Or they might just be like, nope, you're going to get Man City. And I'm going to be like, well, there goes our campaign. Our campaign's over in the fourth round. Um, no, so it's obviously luck of the draw. I'm hoping for another home leg, although I don't mind United going to like these small little stadiums, like I don't think QPR is in it. Or is QPR in? I have no idea. But like if like say they were going to like Loftus Road, like it would be something. It would be pretty cool. Or like if Luton Town were still in it, like if did Man U play Luton? There was one team where Harry Maguire scored a banger. Like he scored like a volley, and I forget was it? I think it was Millwall. I'm sorry, it was Millwall. It was Millwall, not Luton Town, but it was a championship side. I remember. So it is cool to go to those little stadiums because that's only in the FA Cup and the League Cup will you see like a Tottenham go to like um Ipswich or even like a Mansfield Town, like a little team like that. So but no, great performance today from the fellows. I thought Garnacho looked amazing on the left wing, giving Rashford a little bit of a break because again we do play over the weekend. So we'll see Rashford, we'll see Hoyland come Saturday. I believe if they could find a way to put him into the starting 11, I would love Amrabat to play, but Casemiro is just on a tear right now. From Bayern to Burnley to today, I think he's just been so much better. And I think he really needed those couple of games to just kind of rebound. Like he's had a couple howlers early on in the year where he just looked a little flat and he was showing his age a little bit. But now he's looking youthful. Like getting up on that header today was pretty something else. And then contributing to the third. So he just looked awesome. He was my man of the match today. It could have easily have gone to Amrabat, could have easily have gone to Tony, but no, it definitely was Casemiro. And hey, Andre Onana, another clean sheet, 2 in a row. Let's keep it rolling. And yeah, we'll take on Crystal Palace once again.
No, for sure. And I mean, when you're looking at Manchester United, like I feel like he plugs in for that spot in the midfield where they've been flirting with like I would play him over McTominay or
You talking Amrabat?
sorry, Amrabat. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. Because I know it's
Amra
about Casemiro. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Amrabat over McTominay or over Ericsson. Like
Oh,
I feel like
absolutely.
that's where he should, in my opinion, slot in. And
But
just
it's
because
but it's hard because
it is, and it's a different position. I understand it's a different position, but Ericsson's been a liability this season. And as much as I am a big Ericsson fan, supporter, lover of Christian Eriksen, like he's been a liability for Manchester United this season, especially against good sides. And then McTominay, he only plays good for Scotland. So you, for whatever reason. So I would almost take this opportunity to just kind of flirt with the idea of Armabat being in that spot. Just you can play him at left back. Why not play him at that other central midfield position?
yeah, it's hard when Scott's playing like this because it's like night and day. Like I'm not saying like he's like awful for United, but he's not great. Like whenever he dresses, it's like okay, like we've seen this for years. But he'll throw in that occasional goal like once in a while. Like he scored a winner against Man City in a derby a few years ago, and I was like, holy crap, Scott McTominay did that. But his current form for Scotland, like following this team, has just been like really refreshing because you know, seeing him score against countries like Spain and seeing him score in the same game as Erling Holland, against Norway, it's just like, man, like, can you do that for Manchester? Or are we just showing up for your country? And I like having him on the bench. On the bench, I don't see him as a starter for United. And I think he should be slotted below Sofyan Amrabat. I think Amrabat at the 6. I think it's a little more flexible right now because again, Kobe Manu is still hurt. But when Kobe Manu gets in here, I think he's a better number 6 than Scott McTominay. And I think he's a better box-to-box midfielder than both Scott McTominay and potentially Christian Eriksen now. I'm not talking about Christian Eriksen back then. I'm talking about Christian Eriksen September 26th, or you'll probably be watching this or listening to this on the 27th of 2023.
I also, just completely random note, Fred looks terrible in Turkey. I kind of just miss him in Manchester United uniform. Like, I didn't necessarily want to see him play for Manchester United again. I just like him in a Manchester United kit.
He was awesome. And look,
he was like, fun.
He was fun. He was a liability when him and McTominay played together because they were just kind of like two slower players that would just get caught in that midfield. But Fred gave us some of those moments where we were just like, okay. And he's a Brazilian, so like he's really creative with the ball. And he'll score an occasional goal. Like that's Pastor Fred. That was Pastor. So
I admit, just like that random player, I was like, I kind of miss seeing him in a Manchester.
But I will say though, and it was in effect today. And we'll get to tomorrow's matchups right after this point. Seeing Garnacho wear number 17 is just like, because that was the number that Ronaldo started with.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, it's
and he hits the Ronaldo celebration.
Yeah, but no, like, but he's really coming into play. And if it weren't for Rashford, like if it weren't for him, like he'd be our everyday left winger. And I think he accepts sometimes that he has to play on his right side. And I think he can do that. It's kind of like in hockey, a left winger. If he wants to get more reps, he might have to play right wing, and it's on his offhand. But if it's him getting, time with better players, like Garnacho playing on his right side, especially with the Anthony situation. Although sometimes they'll implement like two strikers, and they might throw like Højlund and Martial together, which would be wild. But I don't think we'll wait and see what happens come this weekend.
So to finish, I honestly need scores for these predictions, but I would like.
You want winners?
I would like winners for the Premier League teams that are playing, just to see. There's going to be some Premier League teams eliminated from this competition and early. So who are they going to be and why? I'm going to list the matchups, and then we'll kind of go one by one. Both say if we kind of got the same winners. I imagine some of them will be pretty consistent, but a couple could maybe flip.
Okay.
Aston Villa, Everton, Chelsea, Brighton, Fulham, Norwich City, West Ham, Lincoln City, Arsenal, Brentford, Liverpool, Leicester City, Bournemouth, Stoke City, and Man City, Newcastle. Starting from the top, going down. Aston Villa, Everton, who you got?
I'm going Villa. I think they're just on great form right now. I love what Unai Emery's done with this squad. Picking up a really big win against Chelsea, I think it's just only going to make them like just grow as a club. So I'm going to go with the Villains. I don't know what the score is going to be, but they'll win outright.
Okay. So here's my first going out on a limb. I'm going to take Everton. I think Everton getting a result over the weekend is going to give them a nice little push. And I think they're going to come to this midweek with a lot of confidence after scoring 3 goals over the weekend. And I think they're going to knock out Villa.
On the road. It's at Villa Park.
I stand with what I said.
Wow. Good for you.
There's got to be some upset. There's got to
there's going to be one.
There's going to be at least
I have one. I have one.
This next one, I'll go first for that. We'll kind of alternate who goes first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to go Brighton on this one just because Chelsea can't score goals. Very simple.
I'm also going to go Brighton. I think Chelsea are done. with this competition come tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear your Fulham Norwich City.
We go to Norwich City. This is where I'm going to pick one of those championship teams to go through. Norwich are a favorite to win the championship almost all the time. And I think they fell so short to the playoffs last year. I think this is the year that they come back into the Premier League. And I believe, I know I'm having second guesses, but no, I'm going to go with the Canaries over Fulham.
So I'm also going to Norwich City.
Okay. Welcome. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. So I just because Fulham without
Josh Sargent, baby, USA.
Fulham without Mitrovic just don't have that same threat, which also bothers me more as to why Tottenham lost to them last round. But that's just
he went to Saudi Arabia, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was because he was gonna be suspended too, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. Do you know what club he went to off the top of your head?
I don't care about that league, frankly. Okay. If you go to Saudi Arabia, you're kind of dead to me to a degree.
Well, I know like Al Hilal, Al Nasir, like I know all.
I know the clubs. I just refuse to acknowledge.
What's
them
the one?
Right
what's Gerard's? That's it. That's not Etihad. That's Tafiq or something.
It's the one that Hendo's at. That's all I know.
It's like they're like green. Yeah.
That's all I'm aware of is the Hendersons there.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, yeah, and I'm so anti anything like any of the Saudi Arabian stuff right now.
Yeah.
So we're just
I
gonna
still think MLS is better, but anyway.
we're just gonna ignore it.
Yeah.
All right, West Ham, Lincoln City, West Ham. I don't think this one will be too much trouble.
No, I agree. Even though this one, I believe, is on the road for them. Yeah. So they're at Lincoln City, but that doesn't really Lincoln City. I always think of like I remember when Bradford City like upset Chelsea and like made that really miraculous run. I believe they fell in the quarterfinals. I think they were a League One team that made it all the way to the quarterfinals. Like it was like 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. I don't think Lincoln City's going to be that team. I do think West Ham will win by like 3 or more.
Arsenal, Brentford.
So it's at Brentford.
It is.
If Ivan Toney was on this team, I think it'd be a real interesting matchup. However, I think this is an easy win for Arsenal.
I agree as well, and it's largely also because Arsenal only not to knock Bournemouth, but they played Bournemouth at the weekend. It's not a match where you're like overly concerned about preserving certain players
Like tired
necessarily.
and yeah.
Yeah. So I think they could, gives most of their starters a decent little run for 50 to 60 minutes, go get the game, and then kind of see it out towards the end.
Agreed.
So yeah, I don't think this will be too much trouble. And I think as much as I love myself a little Leicester City, I also think Liverpool will take care of business. They've just looked really, really good this season. And I think their attacking threat with the kind of just threat of all the forwards that they have, even like with Gakpo and Jota coming off the bench, like they've got some serious threats to score regardless of who they start.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite aesthetically pleasing matchups whenever a red team plays a blue team. So we might get 2 home kits on the field here. Anfield will be buzzing as always, even though they're a rival. It's on my list of like my top 5 stadiums to visit. And just because of that, I think this is going to be again a walk in the park. Um, Maybe not as much as like other of these other results, but I think a solid 2-0 through a 2-0 or a 3-1. I think there's going to be a 2-goal deficit and Liverpool will come out on top.
Okay. Yeah. You just continue to love your rivals back to back episodes.
I know, man. God, stop. Can I stop, please? Can I stop?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I won't be saying anything nice about Arsenal. Bournemouth versus Stoke City.
I really want to pick the Potters here. However, and because of the sole reason alone, Tyler Adams' debut tomorrow with the Cherries at home. I'm going to go with the Cherries. I'm going to go Bournemouth on top of Stoke.
I'm gonna go Stoke. This is more of a I want to see Stoke win.
Right.
Because like this is why I love these cups. It's because you just never know what's gonna happen. And my picks over the weekend couldn't have been any worse. So I'm just kind of putting them on a limb here and just I'm gonna go 3 upsets so far. So I've got Everton over Villa, Norwich City over Fulham, and now Stoke City over Bournemouth. And the final one is Man City over Newcastle. Man City will.
Yeah, it's gonna be Man City. I really want to pick Newcastle, even though it's at St. James's Park.
Until City lose, I will not pick against them.
Yeah,
they have not lost a match in this year. I'm not picking against them.
They're really dominant. They are the best team in the world, even without KDB, which is like wild to think of. But we'll see how they respond without Rodri.
So Rodri's not playing at the weekend, so he will play in this.
He will play in this will play in this competition.
So I'm figuring he's going to play the whole match. So I feel like they're because he's not playing at the weekend. He maybe not the whole match, but he'll play a decent bit of it.
You think they'll start Haaland?
I think they will start either Haaland or Julian Alvarez. I think one of the two will start.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll care enough and go for this match enough where one of them will start.
That's wild, right? Because it's like, oh, I could go with either Haaland or Julian Alvarez. It's like saying like I could drive a Ferrari or the Lamborghini. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's one or two. For United, it's like, well, I have a Lexus, but I have a smart car. You know what I mean? No disrespect to Anthony Martial, but That's just wild. That 1-2 combo up top with City is awesome. But
I
even
love
on
when
the
they play them
road,
both. I love when
even
they play them both.
I'm gonna be watching this one full attention tomorrow. This will be the one I'll have on. I still think City will win outright.
Yeah, I think the main screen is City Newcastle. The secondary screen is
Liverpool, Leicester.
Either Chelsea Brighton or
Oh,
Liverpool Leicester. Or
Chelsea,
like
Brighton.
I just don't know if I want to watch Chelsea not score a goal.
Yeah.
So there's also that. But all right, that's it. Any final points? Are we good?
No, we're good. We'll see you guys later in the week when we will be previewing the domestic leagues. So we got some Premier League action coming back. Big matchup for Sammy Bones over there. That'll be the probably one of our main focal points will be Liverpool Tottenham, which is going to be an exciting matchup. Is it at Anfield?
No.
It's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yes, it is. That's
Wow, big
I
Ange, big Ange.
Tottenham get 3 out of this, then I might be unbearable. But we'll hold off and we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna be honest. If Tottenham had beaten Arsenal, I was gonna wear my Tottenham flag around my neck for this episode. So
Oh my
yeah.
God.
So I was fully ready to just be the most annoying person on the planet. But
Hey,
all right.
we're going to sell. No, actually, we're at Old Trafford. I thought we were going to Selhurst Park, but nope, we are at Old Trafford. So both of us are home. Both of us, let's predict both teams winning. Maybe we'll both get 3 points. Maybe United will go into the top 8 and not just stay in the top 10.
What a world it would be. But all right, let's wrap that up and cap off this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you later this week to, as Jeremy said, preview the weekend. So enjoy the rest of your week. See you later.